Hello, I'm Scott Willison, owner of the Confluence Fly Shop in Bellingham, Washington, and we're going to tie a Chironomid pattern today. It is spring here in the Pacific Northwest, and throughout the West, and really the States for that matter, spring is a very important time for chironomids to be hatching, and it is a key food source for trout far and wide. So we're going to tie a pattern today called, I just call it the Bloody Tan Chironomid. I wish I could be more creative with naming chironomids, but they often just get named for whatever colors they are. This is a close cousin of a chironomid pattern called the Screaming Viking, which is a fantastic pattern. And the only difference really is the thread color. This is a great imitator for kind of those reddish tan chironomids that we see coming off oftentimes, and this is a very good one to have in your box. So in the vise I have a size 14 Daiichi 1760, and then I've got a 3/32 black nickel bead on there. You could use tungsten or brass. I'm going to push that bead out of the way and just take enough thread wraps just to get my thread started in front of the bead so we can tie in our gill material. For the gill material, I'm going to use one of my favorites, just the good old white uni stretch here. And we'll just cut a little piece of that off here, and I'm just going to use a single strand. Make sure that stays on top of the hook shank. Take a few wraps there to get that secured, and then I'll just do a couple of half hitches to lock that into place. Then we can slide our bead up over in front of it. Now I've got another bobbin rigged up with my other thread color here, which is red. We are going to tie an underbody of red uni thread. So I'm going to start that behind the bead. Actually, this is red 70 Denier ultra thread. I kind of like the ultra thread for this because I can flatten it out. I can get a nice tapered body. And then over the top I'm going to use Tan Uni Thread in A-dot. So right now I am tying in our ribbing material, which is just extra small copper wire. I'm going to kind of push that up into the bead to get it started, and then we'll wrap that on top of the shank, and we're going to go back to just about where that hook first starts to go into the bend there. So to get our tapered underbody, here, I'll kind of raise this up so you can see what I'm doing. I'm basically just going to twist that bobbin counterclockwise, and that's going to flatten out my thread so I can get a nicer taper. And I'm going to go back there, and then we'll work on building that front taper. Now I don't want to make this too thick because I'm going to have another thread going over the top of that. So I've got a little bit of a taper established there. We'll do another couple of half hitches behind the bead. We'll cut our red thread, and then we're going to go over the top of it with some tan here. Now my goal is I want some of that red thread to show through with the tan uni thread here. So I'm not trying to cover it super thick. I'm going to go back, I'm going to leave a little bit of a pronounced red butt with no tan over it, but I'm going to do fairly loose wraps in the back, and then they're going to get a little bit tighter toward the front. So that's going to allow some of that red to show through. And I went over with just enough so that I've got that kind of blended color look to it, but I didn't totally obscure the red thread. So now that we've got our tan body on there, we'll go ahead and do our rib. I like to try to get about seven wraps in there. We'll tie that off on the top of the shank. There we go. Then we can just kind of helicopter that water till it breaks. And we're ready to whip finish. One of the things I love about all these chironomids, most of them are fairly simple to tie. You can crank out dozens of these in a tying session. We can cut our thread. Now, we're going to put an overcoat on this fly. You could certainly use super glue, you could use Sally Hansen's or Hard as Whole. My absolute favorite is still the Solarez Bone Dry ultra thin formula UV resin. And this is also going to help to kind of blend the colors. You'll notice when that soaks in, you get a little bit more of that red starting to shine through. Yeah, so the Screaming Viking pattern, which is one of my absolute favorite chironomids in the spring, is essentially the same thing, but you're going to use olive 8/0 uni thread instead of the tan. And then we'll go ahead and hit that with our UV light to cure it up. And then we're going to trim our gill. And I like to just kind of pull the gill back over the bead. And I usually leave that gill about a bead length long. So if I pull it back over the bead and trim it even with the back of the bead, I'll get about the right length that I'm looking for. And there you have it, another super simple chironomid tie for the spring. This is the Bloody Tan. Be sure to pick up the materials for this and many other flies at the Confluence Fly Shop in Bellingham, Washington. And thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll keep putting out more videos. Thanks, and we'll see you on the water.